Have you ever noticed how powerful a woman's silence can be? It can speak louder than her words, cut deeper than any argument, and sometimes, it says more than 1,000 conversations combined. But what does it really mean when a woman goes quiet? Is she angry? Hurt? Or is there something much deeper happening inside her mind? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind a woman's silence, and trust me, it's not as simple as it looks. First, understand this: silence is rarely just silence. For women, silence can often be a defense mechanism. When she feels overwhelmed emotionally, mentally, or even physically, she may choose to withdraw and stay quiet. Not because she has nothing to say, but because saying it might make things worse. Her silence becomes her armor, her way of regaining control when everything feels out of control. Women process emotions differently than men. According to psychological studies, women have stronger connections between the emotional and language centers of the brain. This means they feel deeply, and they think deeply about those feelings. When she goes silent, it's often because she's processing what happened. She's organizing thoughts, understanding her feelings, and deciding what to do next. Her silence is not always rejection, it's reflection. Here's a fascinating truth. Silence is communication. In relationships, a woman's silence can mean she wants you to notice something without her saying it. She's testing if you care enough to ask. Or, she's expressing hurt in the only way that feels safe, by withdrawing. This is what psychologists call nonverbal communication, and women are masters at it. When emotions become too heavy, words feel dangerous. Have you ever heard the phrase, "If I open my mouth, I'll break"? That's what silence feels like for many women during emotional overload. Instead of speaking in anger or pain, she chooses quiet. Because deep down, she knows that saying the wrong thing could cause permanent damage. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes, it's power. When a woman refuses to engage in drama or refuses to explain herself for the 100th time, that silence is strength. It's her way of saying, "I know my worth, and I don't need to waste energy proving it to you." Psychologists call this assertive withdrawal. It's not passive, it's intentional. But here's the dark side. When a woman goes silent for too long, it might signal something serious: emotional disconnection. If silence becomes her default, if she no longer argues, no longer explains, no longer tries, it might mean she's mentally checked out of the relationship. Psychologists warn, when she stops caring enough to speak, that's when you should worry the most. So, what do you do when she's quiet? Here's the worst thing you can do: ignore it or get angry about it. Instead, do this. Approach her calmly. Say, "I feel like something's on your mind. When you're ready, I'd love to listen." This shows empathy, not pressure. It gives her space but also lets her know you care. Sometimes, silence is not about you at all, it's about her need for emotional safety. If a woman grew up in an environment where expressing feelings led to conflict or pain, she might have learned to stay silent as a survival mechanism. So when she goes quiet, it's not rejection, it's fear. Understanding this changes everything. Here's the paradox. Silence can mean she loves you too much to say something hurtful. Or it can mean she's hurting too much to speak at all. Only context, and your attentiveness, can tell the difference. That's why emotional intelligence in relationships is so important. A woman's silence is never empty. It's full of meaning, emotion, and psychology. Sometimes it's a shield, sometimes a test, sometimes a cry for help, and sometimes, it's peace. The question is, are you listening to the silence as much as you listen to the words? If you found this insightful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because understanding her silence might just save your relationship. Let me share something important: silence is not always temporary. When a woman's silence stretches for days or weeks, it can create an invisible wall in a relationship. It starts small, less texting, shorter answers, no eye contact. Before you know it, the emotional bond you once shared starts to fade. Why? Because in psychology, connection thrives on communication. When communication dies, intimacy begins to die with it. The silence that once meant I need space now becomes I don't need you anymore. This is why paying attention early matters. Ask yourself, has her silence changed from peaceful to cold? Does she still smile when she sees you? Does she avoid conversations even when things are calm? These are signs that her silence is no longer about processing, it's about disconnecting. In many cases, silence hides words that feel too heavy to say out loud. A woman might stay quiet because she fears hurting your feelings. Or worse, because she's afraid of your reaction. This is called emotional suppression, and psychologists warn it can lead to anxiety, resentment, and even depression. Imagine carrying 10 kilos of emotional weight every single day without speaking. That's what silence feels like when it goes on too long. Here's the truth. A healthy relationship is not about avoiding conflict, it's about having safe conflicts. If she doesn't feel safe to speak, silence becomes her only escape. Sometimes, silence is not punishment. It's a plea for attention. She's saying, please notice me. Please see that I'm not okay. Please care without me having to scream for it. Many men miss this because they think silence means everything is fine. But in reality, silence often means the opposite. Psychologists call this indirect expression, a way of expressing feelings without words. When she goes silent, her body language will tell the real story. Is she avoiding eye contact? Is she sighing often? Is she present but distant? These are all silent signs that her emotions are loud inside.